1. Avarice, an excessive desire for wealth or gain. Greed. Despite being a successful businessman, his avarice knew no bounds and he continued to amass more and more wealth. The king's avarice led to high taxes and a decline in the welfare of his people. His avarice was the reason why he had to pay for his own lawyer. 2. Chicanery, the use of trickery to achieve a political, financial, or legal purpose. The company was involved in chicanery when it faked its earnings reports to the stockholders. The politician's chicanery was exposed when it was revealed that he had accepted bribes in exchange for a favorable vote. The lawyer used chicanery to get his client acquitted. 3. Disparage, to speak negatively of, to belittle or criticize. The boss constantly disparaged his employees, making them feel undervalued and unappreciated. She was always disparaging her own work, even though she was highly respected in her field. He was criticized for disparaging the accomplishments of his competitors. 4. Ephemeral, lasting for only a short time. Transitory. The beauty of the cherry blossoms is ephemeral, lasting only a few short weeks before fading away. His fame was ephemeral, as he quickly faded into obscurity after his one-hit wonder. The joy of the vacation was ephemeral, as they were quickly back to the grindstone of work and everyday life. 5. Garrulous, excessively talkative, especially on trivial matters. The garrulous salesman wouldn't stop talking, even after the customer had made it clear that they weren't interested. The dinner party was ruined by the garrulous guest who monopolized the conversation. The teacher's garrulous style of lecturing made it difficult for her students to stay engaged. 6. Nebulous, adjective. Hazy, vague, or indistinct, unclear or ill-defined. The nebulous figure in the foggy forest made me nervous. Her memories of the event were nebulous and difficult to recount. The politician's nebulous response to the question made it clear she was avoiding the issue. 7. Ominous, adjective, giving the impression that something bad or unpleasant is going to happen. Threatening. The dark clouds in the sky were ominous, and we knew a storm was coming. His ominous tone made me think he had bad news to share. The ominous silence from the other side of the phone line was unsettling. 8. Pensive, adjective, engaged in, involving, or reflecting deep or serious thought. She sat alone in the park, pensive and lost in thought. The pensive look on his face made me wonder what he was thinking about. After the breakup, she became more pensive and introspective than before. 9. Quaint, adjective, attractively unusual or old-fashioned. The quaint town had cobblestone streets and charming old buildings. She wore a quaint dress from the 1920s to the costume party. The quaint bed and breakfast had a cozy and comfortable atmosphere. 10. Reticent, adjective, not revealing one's thoughts or feelings, readily reserved. He was reticent about his past and didn't like to talk about it. Her reticent personality made it hard for her to make friends. The reticent witness's testimony was vague and unhelpful to the case. In a small quaint town, there was a reticent man named John who lived alone. He was always pensive and often stared out the window, lost in thought. One day, a garrulous stranger named Ted arrived and tried to strike up a conversation with John. Ted was known for his chicanery and avarice, always trying to make a quick buck. John was immediately suspicious of Ted and his nebulous motives. He felt that something ominous was about to happen, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. Ted disparaged John's simple way of life and spoke in a way that seemed ephemeral, like his words were there for a moment and then gone. Despite John's reservations, Ted managed to convince him to invest in a business venture that sounded too good to be true. As the days passed, John began to realize that he had been duped by Ted's chicanery. He was left with nothing but regret and a sense of foreboding for the future. In the end, John learned a valuable lesson about the dangers of avarice and the importance of being cautious of nebulous people with ominous intentions. He vowed to be more reticent and to trust his instincts when dealing with garrulous strangers.